All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Got a big one today. So in just a second, we have some gigantic protests that erupted in Israel. We'll talk about that. We also have Trump betraying Ukraine with a disgusting offer that he made to Putin. I'll walk you through that as well. Fox News crashes out hard over Gavin Newsom and the fact that he's copying Trump. Hakeem Jeffries continues to humiliate himself with his lack of fight against MAGA. And later on, people apparently are not having sex in the United States anymore. Okay. Weird, but we'll talk about that. And also, other vices are apparently on the decline. We'll dive into all that, smoking, drinking, you name it. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a big favor. Sub to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. That link is below if you'd like to help out. You can also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is also below. And go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel where Corin and I do Kyle and Corin episodes live. We try to do it every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So come hang out with us over there and subscribe to his channel. He'd appreciate it. We're trying to get him to 100,000 subscribers, and you guys it would mean the world to him if you sub. So hook a brother up with a sub. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it, y'all. So this is crazy right here. This is crazy. So you had these gargantuan protests that erupted in Israel. And the numbers for this thing are gigantic. It truly is mind-boggling that this seemingly popped up overnight. But here we have a CNN report on it. Let's watch, and then we'll break down.
A nationwide strike and widespread protests across Israel. Today, thousands of protesters blocked major roads, businesses also closing. There are rallies happening.
Damn, they got fires on the highway, dog. That's wild. Fires on the highway. I feel like if you did that in the U.S., you'd be like tackled by 17 officers in SWAT gear within like a minute.
Cities and towns across the country, they are demanding an end to the war in Gaza and a deal for the return of hostages held there. CNN's Oren Lieberman is in Hostages Square in Tel Aviv. What are you hearing from people, and how potentially influential will it be?
So that's the thing, right? Is like Netanyahu is managing to piss off a lot of Israelis, because clearly the Israeli government does not give a fuck about the remaining hostages. They didn't care about the hostages the entire time, if we're being honest, right? There were deals on the table by Hamas to return all the hostages within a week of October 7th, and Israel fucking rejected them. Okay, so they don't care. But the population does, right? They care about the hostages. And so there's this big disconnect between the public and the government, where the government is putting first and foremost their religious extremism and their expansionism. They want to create a greater Israel. They want to resettle all of Gaza. They want to take over all of the West Bank. And they are prioritizing that well above the hostages who they don't give a fuck about. And so the population does not like that. They want those hostages back. And so that's one area where there's a huge disagreement between the Israeli public and Netanyahu.
From the numbers of people we have seen on the streets and in the surrounding area, from the crowds we have tried to get through with some success because the streets are packed so densely, I think it's safe to say this is easily one of the largest, if not the largest, protest we've seen against the war since it started nearly 2 years ago. And it came together only in the last week.
I do want to say, though, stop calling it a war. It is not a war. This is so far from a war. In order for it to be a war, both sides need to be capable of fighting. Right? What do you have, 7 Hamas people left with a handful of bottle rockets, and we're going to call it a war when the other side has 2,000-pound bombs, and they have every weapon known to man, and they're backed by the world's most powerful military in all of history? It's not a war. This is a murder fest. This is a genocide. Stop calling it that. That's the subtle propaganda that I can't get over. My autistic ass can't get over it.
Organizers from both hostage families as well as bereaved families from October 7th called for a grassroots nationwide strike today, and it has taken place
it's a lot of people
out the entire day. There are hundreds, if not thousands, just around me right here, and the closer you get to Hostages Square, which is still a few hundred meters behind us, the more packed it gets. You may even be able to hear the noise from the chanting, the drums, the cheers, the chants from Hostages Square itself, and that gives you just a sense of how many people are here. This all started at 6:29 this morning. That's the time of the Hamas-led attack from October 7th, so it is incredibly symbolic. It began with road closures at major intersections across the country as protesters and demonstrators blocked major intersections. From there, it grew and it spread. Throughout the day, we have seen protests across Israel demanding an end to the war, some calling for the end of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's time leading the country. That all led to a march, which we followed as it led to Hostages Square, and then the main event, packing Hostages Square. Organizers say there are 300, perhaps even 400,000 people in the square itself, and blocking blocking the surrounding streets. And that's why it's so easy to get a sense here of the energy, of the calls for an end to the war and the demand to come to a deal to bring home the remaining 50 hostages, 20 of whom are still believed to be alive.
A lot of the population, I think, knows that this is now existential for Israel in the sense that, yo, you've already lost the world, bro. The world is gone. Like, if you look at young Americans, obviously the entire left is done with Israel. Israel only has like an 8% support rate among Democrats, Democratic voters. You're cooked. You're cooked among Democrats. So now it's both a thing about genocide, but it's also a rank partisanship thing where we see how Netanyahu coddles Trump's nuts. And like regular Democratic voters are like, oh, this guy's just like a Republican who's destroying everything in sight, right? So you have that. But then on the Republican side, yeah, young Republicans also hate Israel. They do. And so it like, TikTok, bitch, eventually when the younger generation takes over, who's going to have your back? Who's going to have your back? There was a top Israeli government official who said something like, if we lose the GOP, we lose everything. And it's like, that's going to happen. Like, it's only a matter of time because you're not going to get back all these young Republicans who see what you're doing in real time. It's not going to happen. And so what I think a lot of the protesters realize is that what Netanyahu is doing here is existential for Israel, period, where the whole fucking project can collapse, and perhaps it will. And so that's why one of the things they're calling for is for him to step down. They want him to step down. They want the hostages returned. They want an end to the war, which it's a genocide. Let's stop calling it a war. But they also want Netanyahu to step down, which, look, we'll take it. Anybody who goes out there and applies pressure, anybody who tries to fucking get this horror show to stop, that's good. And there should be more of this happening. So roads were blocked, businesses shut down, nationwide protests, like massive strike going on. You saw the fires on the highway. I mean, this is next level type shit. The numbers I've seen go as low as 500,000 and as high as 1 million. And I even saw one that went as high as 2.5 million people across Israel. I don't know what the exact number is. I have no idea. But there was a number of different sites. And when you add it up between all of them, there's a lot of people that showed up.
In the weekly cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tried to dismiss the strike today, saying it strengthens Hamas and that it's the destruction of Hamas that's necessary right now.
Bro, he did the thing. There's only two reactions from Zionists. You're an anti-Semite or you're Hamas, right? That's all they got. Anti-Semite or Hamas. And here you're calling Israelis in the street. They're helping Hamas. Oh my God, they're so fucking lazy. Oh my God. Oh my God. They're so smug. They're so arrogant. They're so lazy. They're not even trying. It's like when Netanyahu went on the fucking Nelk Boys podcast and he talks about like Burger King and shit. It's like, who do you think you're kidding? Did you think this was going to go well as you carpet bomb babies and starve them to death and you go and shoot the shit about fucking Burger King with two frat boy idiots? You think that was going to go well? Now you're calling Israelis Hamas? Oh my God.
It's, of course, coming just days after Netanyahu and the security cabinet approved Israel's takeover and occupation of Gaza City. Protesters we've spoken with here see that as a death sentence for the hostages. It endangers the hostages. It endangers the country itself.
Okay, true. But also, and this is the issue with liberal Zionists, right, is like, so the thing motivating you is not like the baby starving to death. That doesn't factor in. The thing motivating you is not the fact that like about 300,000 Palestinians have been killed. That's not Kyle speaking. That's a doctor who was in Gaza who just did an interview with the Majority Report. Whatever number you want to give it, it's definitely six figures at least, right? But that doesn't move you. That doesn't, like, you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to center that. It always comes back to like centering Israelis. And I don't know, something about that sits wrong when it's like I said, I made this analogy before, but it would be like during Nazi Germany, if somebody was out there talking about like anti-German racism. And it's like, I think the issue now is that Jews are being shoved into gas chambers and maybe we should center that, you know? So something about that is wrong. But at the same time, I'm just happy people are out there trying to stop the government from what they're doing.
Because of the split, and we see that rift here, the rift between what the government is calling for and what the protesters here are demanding. Organizers say for them, this is just the beginning. So key question is, where does this go from here? Hundreds of thousands, organizers say, on the streets tonight in a unified call for bringing home the hostages and an end to the war. Again, they promise this is the beginning, and this they say will continue until they see that vision, a vision of the end of the war, realized.
And then, Oren, I also want to ask you about some leaked audio of a former Israeli intelligence chief where he discusses the situation in Gaza.
So this came out just a couple of days ago. It was leaked audio recordings from Israel's Channel 12 News. This is Major General Aharon Haliva, who's the former head of Israeli military intelligence. In part of these lengthy leaked audio recordings, he says here, and I'm quoting from the hostages, from the recordings, the fact that there are already 50,000 dead in Gaza is necessary and required for future generations. He says, and I'm quoting again here, for everything that happened on October 7th, for every one person on October 7th, 50 Palestinians must die. It doesn't matter now if they are children.
Oh my God. This was supposed to be a moderate person. This is a moderate talking. Jesus Christ.
After these audio recordings were leaked, he issued a statement to Channel 12 saying these occurred in a private forum. Obviously, these statements have been...
Who gives a fuck? I love that they think that's a... No, yeah, he said he's in favor of the Holocaust, but he said it when he was, like, behind closed doors, so, like, let it go.
Condemned, especially as Israel has faced increasing criticism for the military's conduct of the war in Gaza. This certain to add to that criticism.
Oh, you don't say. Here we have a top Israeli government official who said, Palestinians can blow me, and I hope they die faster. They should die. They should burn in hell for eternity, and we hate them, and we want to see all of them be killed immediately, and we are going to do exactly that. This is what they said. It's like, that's effectively what they... This is going to add to the criticism. Yeah, you don't say. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Look, here's the thing, though, and we talked about this before, too. It's something like 82% of the Israeli public is fine with the ethnic cleansing. It's almost 50%, I believe 47, I believe is the exact number, that's okay with genocide in explicit terms. It was only like 4% of the public that said the IDF went too far in the genocide, and this was like a month or two into it when we got that poll. And so, like, those are disgusting, disturbing numbers there. But at the same time, from that population, I wouldn't even expect this. This, like, bare minimum what they're doing here, which is effectively trying to get Netanyahu to step down, trying to free the hostages, trying to stop the war. Not a war. Jesus Christ. So it's good for what it is, right? It's good for what it is. Apply as much pressure as possible. But again, I think at the core of this really is the case that they know in the long run, Israel is cooked. Their name on the international scene is just dunzo. Like, nobody wants to have anything to do with you. Everybody's disgusted by you. As soon as the U.S. pulls the ripcord, you're just fuckedville. So, like, if you realize that, then it's like you got to start fixing the situation fucking now, right? Trump ain't going to be around forever. And like I said, Democrats are all anti-Israel now. And then even the young Republicans are anti-Israel now. Like, you're on borrowed time now, homie. And so if you don't immediately try to make amends, it's not going to get back. And honestly, at this point, I think it's too late anyway. There is no way you can make amends for what you've done. There's no way. So, but at this point, it's just like, well, get Netanyahu the fuck out of there, and they want the hostages back, and they want to stop the war. So, but again, anywhere from 500,000 to up to 1 million, maybe even 2.5 was the largest number I saw, but that's a lot. But what I would say is keep it up to show that you mean it, right? Keep it up. Because this is a unique scenario that we're witnessing. We're witnessing a country do a genocide live streamed in 4K on a daily basis. And the least the population can do is do this massive strike and massive protests on a daily basis until the government is effectively forced to tap out, until the government is forced to take some sort of action to change course. And how long will that take? I don't know. But however long it does take is an acceptable price to pay, given the carnage and the disgusting videos and images that we're seeing and these poor innocent people who are losing their lives because of what Israel's doing. I should also show you guys this too. This is just one other video from the protests. In this particular place, in Tel Aviv specifically, there was between 300,000 and 500,000 people that showed up. And you did have some police cracking skulls. I mean, I imagine even liberal Zionism in the eyes of the Israeli government is like totally unacceptable. It's heresy because they're really run by a messianic death cult. They really are. Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and Netanyahu, these are people who think God gave them a right, not only to all of Gaza, but also to all of the West Bank. And they actually speak in religious terms when they talk about like God granting us this land. And Netanyahu said the other day, I'm on a spiritual mission to create a greater Israel. He admitted it. He admitted the greater Israel conspiracy right out there in the open. That's what we're dealing with here. And so if that's the dominant ideology of the government and the people in power, well, the police force is effectively reflecting that. And so they look at like liberal Zionists and they go, well, you guys are fucking extremists. You guys are crazy. And they start assaulting them. So things are getting wild there. Things are spilling over and boiling, and it should be the case. They should have happened a long fucking time ago. It should have happened more than a year ago. Should have happened, a week or 2 weeks into the genocide, not fucking this long. But I hope they keep the pressure up, and I hope the Israeli government is forced to course correct, because these guys are as loathsome as they get, man. Guys, don't forget, Netanyahu, in order to get out of his corruption trial, he launched an attack on Damascus in Syria, the capital of Syria. Do you realize how depraved you have to be to say, oh, I got a corruption trial. How do I get out of this? I'll start another war. I'll bomb another country. Like, that would never occur to me or anybody I know that I'll just launch a war because then they got to go on pause and they got to postpone the trial until after the summer break. Like, that shit is crazy. And that's what he did. If he's willing to do that, and if he's willing to do everything that we're witnessing in Gaza right now, there's nothing he won't do to stay in power. So you need the population to effectively revolt. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.